People are expressing concern that the electoral process has been dictated to the Somali people by the international community and the UN. Can you explain how the process was arrived at?
Yes, it's taken about 18 months to design the model for this electoral process. The first major decision was back in the middle of 2015, when the Parliament and the federal government decided that Somalia is not ready for universal elections, one person, one vote, for a variety of reasons, including the fact that there isn't a voter registry, the institutional capacity is absent, including a national electoral commission. So then there was a consultative process starting in September 2015 that went on for several months. And that actually involved an unprecedented number of meetings around the country. And that generated a lot of ideas. And then in January this year, there was a National Leadership Forum meeting in which the contours of the process were discussed, including, for example, the decision to reserve 30% of the seats for women. That was not a international community decision, that was a Somali decision. And then in April this year, there was confirmation that there would be an upper house as well as a lower house, and the numbers around those. So, it really has been a Somali process.
Are the expectations of women's representation being met?
With regard to women, I suppose the most positive thing has been that a number of states have elected 2 women to the upper house, starting with Galmudug, which elected 2 of the 8 upper house seats, elected 2 women. And even though it's going to be tough to meet the 30% target, the fact that we have well over 20% women representation in the upper house is defying the cynics and pessimists' fears that the percentage of women in 2016 would be even lower than 2012. So the challenge now is to try and make sure that the lower house includes women, and that really is about getting clans to agree a basis upon which seats will be allocated to women in the lower house.
Do you have concerns about the process?
There's been issues, for example, about securing the locations. We're working very closely with AMISOM and Somali security forces. That's an issue, the safety of the delegates. There are concerns about how the money system will work. I think we've solved those now, but the basis upon which delegates will receive stipends, the basis upon which vendors such as travel companies and hotel owners will be paid. There are issues around supporting the bodies that are conducting the process.
Okay, there are varying opinions on the role that elders are playing in the electoral process. Can you explain what their role is and how it was decided that they would be part of the process?
Yes, well, the main difference between 2016 and 2012, of course, is that in 2012, 135 elders chose the 275 MPs. Now, this time it's a hybrid in which the elders continue to have a very important role, because in the lower house, they are choosing the delegates, the 51 members of each electoral college that will elect 1 MP. So they're still very important, but clearly their influence has been diluted, because instead of 1 elder choosing roughly 2 MPs, presumably on the basis of consultation within the clan, the sub-clan, the sub-sub-clan, now people who want to be MPs not only have to be on good terms with the elders, but they have to persuade the 51 delegates that they are the right person to represent that sub clan.
Okay. There are concerns about the credibility of the process, specifically concerns about vote buying and bribes. How is the process supposed to remain credible?
Well, you know, vote buying and bribes are a reality. We know there is a lot of money changing hands. You just read the Somali media, and I think the important thing is that the voting, when it actually takes place, is secret, that there are no cell phones, for example, so that people take photographs of how they voted, and that ultimately, you know, that moment when, as a delegate, you put your mark against a candidate's name and put it in the box, you know, that is a very secret moment, and the results will be instantly communicated. So even though a lot of money may change hands up to that point, there will be no way for those who are buying votes or selling votes to know whether an individual has actually then voted in the way that he or she said he would. So that's quite interesting. In other words, we can put in place safeguards to not you know, undermine, but certainly that mitigate the influence of money in determining in the lower house who gets elected as an MP.
Is the 2016 process better than the 2012?
Well, it's early to say, but already I would argue it is, because it's taking place in 5 or 6 places around the country. You've got a much more active political environment. You've got women being very active. You've got youth groups mobilized. You have these ad hoc institutions like the FIAT, the CIAT, the Electoral Dispute Resolution Body in place. You've got very high levels of international interest. We have a code of conduct. We have international observers. So I would argue that the architecture around this electoral process is infinitely more you know, robust than it was in 2012.
Thank you.